I'm doing this just to show you black people, right? That because you guys seem so fascinated about the original black people of Samoans, as though Samoans were black. This is a book called Otama Uli, the Melanesians in the Western Samoa. So if you really want to know the history of black people in Samoa, have a good read of this. I'm just going to go skim through it for 10 minutes just to let you guys know the highlights within the book that I found out myself. And I'm just going to go through it just a little bit. Firstly, the real name that you should give someone who is black is not Miuli, it's called Otama Uli. As it says over here, the term meaning black boys. Okay, that's all it means. And in this account, I'm just show you the ones that highlight that the Melanesian trade in Samoa came in around 1900, 1800 I would say, to about 1900 under the German colony. And the Melanesians who were recruited, there was around 100,000 of them. About 7,000 of those Melanesians were brought into Samoa. And that was between 1870 all the way to 1914. So that's about 50 years of Melanesians coming within Samoa. And isn't it funny? Even after all those 7,000 or so Melanesians within Samoa, and still you cannot find one nigger, black person that looks like Samuel L. Jackson. But I will go through the things that I highlight. You should read it yourself. It's a good read. This is the governor of Germany of Samoa who ruled in 1900 to 1912. But if you read it, you'll find out the history of Samoa. But this is 4 stories about Melanesians who came into Samoa. And the first story is Tapusini Pini Maluana. You do not realize where this country is. It's in Papua New Guinea. This is how the people look like. And this is a story. Tapusina was sent as a domestic servant to the house of the German manager of the Lili plantation. His duties was gardening, looking after the horses and cart, and driving the manager of his wife to town. Now, you may be asking me, why am I bringing this up? Quite simply, the reason why I'm bringing it up is because what you do not realize is when you click onto a photo, you may not know who exactly it is that standing next to the German. You might think, oh, Samoans are black, but you do not realize that is maybe a servant or Melanesian or Papua New Guinean who is working under the Germans. Now, if we carry on down, this is his story. And listen very carefully to what he says. He remembers the Germans punishing the plantation workers by flogging them with horsewhips if they considered them to be lazy or disobedient. Another punishment he remembers was that of locking up workers in solitary confinement. Isn't it funny? They do this to the Aborigines. They do this to African Americans. They did this to the Melanesians, but never treated the Samoans the same way. You'll think, oh, the Samoans were originally black. Why? How come they did not treat them the same way? Okay, if you keep reading it, and you'll see right here that he said he knew that Samoans were Christians. But the Melanesians were not allowed to go to church because service was conducted in the village, and the Germans forbade Melanesians to associate themselves with Samoans. Wow. Isn't it funny? And I'm saying this to you as a black person who may be watching this, that the Germans considered Samoans different from Melanesians, that they were allowed to go to churches and they were not. Exactly the same thing which happened to African Americans. And if you keep going down and keep reading it, you'll find out that he did eventually go to this church. The band included him, Samoans, and even Melanesian plantation workers, thus showing you how inclusive Samoans are compared to white people. And to be seen as a leader, soon the band became very popular, and the Samoans would come in the evening to watch the practice. So you can see the mentality of Samoans, the mentality of the Germans. Because in the end of the day, Samoans were always being inclusive with whatever it comes, when it comes to eating and all that sort of stuff. So during his visit, he met a Samoan girl, and she fell in love with his guitar playing and his singing, and she came to live with him. So they had a son. So once they had a son, they ended up marrying, and she gave him even more children. So in the end of the day, they had about 10 children. They are now all married, and one of his daughters or sons is married to a Māori and has about 8 children. So as you can see, if you read this whole story, that even he tells you that fate has been good to him. He says that while he knows that Samoans look down on black boys, just read that, he himself enjoyed a good relation with most Samoans. In the younger days, this was probably because of his reputation as a musician. So, in conclusion to this story, clearly shows to you that, number one, the Germans totally treated the Melanesians different from Samoans by allowing Samoans to go to church, and secondly, by how they treated them as plantation workers. And as you can see right there, horsewhips and locking them up in solitary confinement. And in the next story, I will talk about Tui Dikau, and he's from Solomon Islands.